The tool that I'm going to share with you, if you've done ever a professional Scrum Master course at scrum.org, part 2, so the P is in 2, then you probably have seen this. But this is the empathy map. The empathy map, and I will share all the resources in the slides with you guys, so you can have it as well. But the empathy map is a extremely cool tool to use. In small steps, it tells you to think about a person that is showing dysfunctional behavior or behavior that you find difficult to deal with. In every single step, you start to write down what a possible thinking process of that person could be, what a possible reason could be why that person is showing that behavior. And because the emotion is taken out of it and you have an opportunity to kind of go into an analyzing mode, it becomes really cool to see what you come up with. And I've done this when I was a trainer for the course. I was a co-trainer and I helped an agile coach through this. He had major problems with his product owner, and he felt in the, I need to tell him that he needs to come to the meetings, and I need to tell him that he needs to be more on call for the team. He felt in a really convincing conversation with reactive language. And when I used this tool on him, by the last part of the canvas, he filled in that that person might have a KPI that is pushed on him by a higher manager. And that KPI is not in line with what the team is doing. He knows it, and he probably has no clue on how to do it. It gave the agile coach a completely different view of what a possible reason could be why that person was showing dysfunctional behavior. And that showed the agile coach at that moment a bit of awareness that what you see happening is not the reason why it is showing. So what you see happening is not the reason why it is showing. So somebody that is angry and frustrated is not because it is angry and frustrated. It is often to do with an underlying emotion, of not feeling valuable or anxious to not think about a good solution. And to sit down and to do this empathy map exercise is often really good to kind of let your own emotions out of the equation and start looking at different aspects of that behavior and what could be different reasons for that behavior. At the moment, I still use it. I'm also introducing it in an organization that I work with. It is still powerful, and I can highly recommend you to just fill it in and use it. Maybe it is fun to use it for your own dysfunctional behavior. We all know that we have it. Or if you find yourself in a really challenging way, you can use it on behavior of your partner or your kids or family around you. You don't have to share it with them, but just sit down and try to fill it in. It is quite cool what can come out of it. So that brings me, luckily, because I've been talking quite a lot, at the end of my presentation. So to wrap up, I just want to go through the 3 elements that we spoke about. Servant leadership is a big buzzword, is a big thing. Everyone has their own views on it. And most of the time, those views are all really, really good. And they're all correct as well. The hard part is actually we find ourselves often in a bit of a more traditional way of doing business in our organization, and then changing your management style into something that's called servant leadership is often quite hard to do. What helped for me is 3 really basic elements: is to pay attention to what kind of language I use when I have conversations with my team members, to look at the type of conversation that I want to have or should be having. And that is from a confrontational, convincing point of view to a more influencing conversation. The other thing is the let it happen or the fixing it behavior. If you try to remove yourself out of fixing the problem you will see magic happen often. And you can celebrate that with your team, and you can help them. You can also challenge them if you realize that they're not thinking about something really important. Instead of telling them that they're forgetting about something, you can challenge them by asking questions. And the third one is the self-awareness. Really important one, no matter what role you have, pretty much, but especially when you're in a servant leadership role or Scrum Master coach role. Start to look more into your own behavior. Start to understand where it comes from. Start to have open conversations with yourself. Because if you can be vulnerable towards yourself and having honest conversations with yourself, that is the only most constructive way to have them with your team as well.